What's up, guys? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's happening with Tesla's SPY in the overall market. Just note that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000 more, you're guaranteed 30 in total, not to mention 8.1% APY on invested cash. This offer's been extended until the end of March, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's talk about the market right here. So, as far as Tesla's going, we're seeing this breakout attempt from this trend line, and we're doing a good job at holding this channel so far. So, this is going to be our main range of the day. But it's worth noting that although Tesla's trying to push higher in this uptrend, there is this gap to fill that is technically still there, at least from the pre-market. So we had a pre-market gap right over here. So I'm going to be watching to see if we do come back down to fill that gap. And even if we do come back down, we're going to be watching to see if this trend line holds Tesla for this thing to continue to uptrend. And then that would open the door for more explosive moves to the upside. But I'll talk more about that in just a couple of minutes. Just know a couple of things about today. So today's Tuesday, January 21st, 2025. It's the day after Mr. Trump's inauguration. Just know that at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the 3 and 6 month bill auctions coming out. Then we have a 42-day bill auctions at 1 p.m. and then a 52-week bill auction at the same time. So it's just bill auctions for today, nothing too significant, which is not really a surprise, at least thus far. As far as Tesla goes, I was looking at the news. I didn't see anything too significant so far, but there was some news that did come out about how, there's some talk about how a Tesla dealership may have been targeted in a possible arson attack, but it's not a guarantee. It's a possibility. That's what a lot of headlines are talking about, at least thus far. Authorities are investigating this, at least in Oregon. So I just hope for the best. Fortunately, I don't think anyone was injured, but this is still, once again, not the best of news, at least for them. So, with that being said, I think that with this going on, I really just hope for the best for the people around, and we'll just have to see what happens, at least moving forward. And luckily they were able to get rid of the fire, and people aren't too harmed, if anything. For other pieces of news, we had Trump's inauguration. It also happened simultaneously with MLK Day. The market was closed yesterday. Now we're coming back up, and so far the S&P 500 and Dow Jones are all in the green. The market is gapping up so far, but the question remains, can we sustain these levels? That's something I did talk about yesterday. We had to not just pump, but also hold above the levels we're currently at for this to continue. So I'll be watching that very, very closely. Currently, Trump is the president. He was sworn in yesterday, and we'll see how that affects things, at least moving forward. But for now, the market started off on a positive end, and we'll see if that continues. For other factors out there, we had Charles Schwab and 3M announcing their earnings. I'll talk more about those in my next video. I want to make this one a little bit quicker. And then there is some negative news that came out about Apple. Their sales are actually down about 18.2% in China during the December quarter, unfortunately. So that's why the share price is down just a little bit. There's a little bit of a dip that's been coming, especially as the competition is growing. Just wanted to call that out. So what do I see for Tesla, at least moving forward? Even though we're technically in this uptrend of a channel, I do want to talk about some key levels. So if we end up losing the support right here around this 432 area, you're going to be looking for this gap fill all the way down to about 428. That's where this lower support happens to be. And you want to see Tesla hold this to try to continue this uptrend just like this. We got to hold 428 if we do get some kind of a dip right here. And hypothetically, if we end up breaking past this resistance right here at 435, we're looking for an attempt to get back up towards 440, then eventually much higher levels. Then we have like these imbalances to fill. We have 447 as our next potential target if we manage to break 444, not to mention that gap fill into the 450s. So those are your levels to watch for. If we could lose 430, this 433 area, we're going to be dipping back down lower to fill that gap. And if we can maintain above this resistance, especially around 436, we're looking for an attempt to get back up to 440. Then eventually we'll slowly push past that to much higher levels. We're in the middle right now, but I'm a little bit concerned about this gap right over here. So I want to be very, very careful with this. So we'll see if we get some kind of dip first. If there is some kind of like dip that comes before it tries to bounce again. And when we watch to see if Tesla could hold this trend line, we need to hold that to remain bullish. But my gut's trying to tell me that looking at this, there's a little bit of weakness here, might come down just a little bit. And hopefully we get that bounce to try to continue this uptrend to push higher. So Will Tesla make an explosive move? That's the question in this video. The answer is yes, we will, if we continue to hold this lower trend line. So see this yellow trend line. Tesla's been trying to break out from this channel. So as long as we maintain this, I think Tesla will continue to push. So I'll be watching that very closely. We could see a test of this trend line before it tries to bounce. Hopefully, we end up holding support. For others out there, we're going to transition to many of our ETFs. SPY is looking very solid so far. I think that as of right now, as long as we don't lose 600, we are still favoring the upside for an attempt to get back up to 602. If we break that, we're looking for 605, then basically the all-time high. Right now, SPY is looking bullish after the inauguration, and there's a lot of buyers who are still defending, but we got to hold 600 for confirmation. So I'm going to be looking for an attempt to push towards closer to 602. We got to hold above that. There's this gap over here during the pre-market all the way down to 597. That's the high from not the high, but like very close to the close from Friday. So we got to try to hold above 600. If we lose 600, I'm looking for the gap fill for 597. And as long as we're above 600, I'm going to be looking for an attempt for this to try to continue. So I hope that's as clear as possible. Right now, we are favoring upside. As long as we hold 600, we will continue to push. But we haven't broken the critical resistance at 602 yet. So I'm favoring that this will try to push a little bit upon open, but then we'll see if we get a turn back down, if we end up losing 600 or not, to come back down to fill that gap. Even if that's the case, if we kind of push then dip to fill this gap, we could still bounce later on. But for now, the market is looking like it's in the middle. I think we're favoring upside for the time being, but the question is, can we sustain these levels? Can we get a close above 600? Can we also break 602? If those two end up happening, we're going to be looking for a lot more upsides. Just keep that in mind. So I'm favoring more upside for SPY closer to 602, and then we'll see what kind of reaction we get. So please keep that in mind. Same thing with the QQQ. We're looking bullish. We got this breakout past this blue trend line. But for us to continue, I want to see this try to hold above. As long as we try to hold above 522, I think we continue to favor this push to about 527. So the QQQ is looking a bit more bullish, so is SPY. But we'll just have to see if we can sustain these levels, because even if we do push higher to where this inverse hand shoulders is complete, so we have like this left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder, the issue is we still have this gap down here. So will we pump all the way up to about 527 and then start to come back down a little bit to fill this gap over here? I'll be watching to see if that ends up being the case. Just be very, very careful with the potential top that could be forming. Look for some more upside. I think we favor 527 as long as 525 holds, and then we'll see if we turn or not. So just keep that in mind. For others out there, we have the IWM Russell 2000 looking a bit more bullish. If we end up losing 226, we're looking for a dip back down towards 225. If we manage to break past 228, we're looking for a much larger pump to higher levels. So I think that as of right now, we favor the upwards direction, and we could try to break past 228 to remain bullish. But we need to try to hold at least above 226 for confirmation. As long as that holds, we will continue to push. Bitcoin is doing a good job at holding up. It did dip exactly as predicted, closer to about 100,000 before it tried to bounce. So I could be looking for an attempt to get for it to get back up to about 106,000. So it might try to push a little bit higher from here. Nvidia is showing a lot of life right now. We're going to be testing 140. If we could break that, I think there's going to be an attempt for 144. If we were to lose 136.4, however, we could be turning back down to 132. So hoping we break past 140 and continue to push. I see a lot of potential nonetheless. As far as Tesla goes, like I said, we're bullish. We're on a nice uptrend, but I'm watching this gap down here. Well, sometimes Tesla does see some liquidity being grabbed before it tries to continue to push. As long as this trend line holds, Tesla will remain bullish, and we could see an explosive move. But we'll see if we get some kind of like dip first before it tries to continue looking at this, especially as we have that gap over there. So if we see a dip like this before it tries to continue to push for 450, I'll be watching that very closely. Apple is showing a lot of weakness right now, unfortunately, because of the bad news that came out. We'll be watching to see if we could hold support right over here at 224 and also around this like 222 area. So I'm watching those two supports. I presume what's going to happen is we're going to be looking for a bounce soon. It is a little bearish for now, but then it's going to try to rebound. So we watch to see if we could hold 224. If it does base there, we will be looking for a rebound for about 227. So give this the time it needs. For other factors out there, AMD is looking very promising. I want to see it hold 121. If that is the case, we will attempt to continue for about 125. Coin is looking more bullish. We're going to be fighting for 300. If we could break that, I'm looking for an attempt for 308. If we don't break 300, we turn back down. We have a gap to fill back down to 280. So it depends if we could break 300 or not. For Amazon, we look more bullish. We got this inverse head and shoulders breakouts. If we could try to hold above 229, we're looking for an attempt for 232. We'll have to see if 229 holds. Meta is looking more bullish. There's like a potential inverse head and shoulders here. This could be looking for a move back up for about 625. For Microsoft, we have a nice inverse head and shoulders. As long as we don't end up losing 428, we're looking for an attempt to get back up to 435. And then Google's looking more bullish. We're going to try to see if 200 could hold. If that's the case, we're going to be visiting these all-time highs, getting back up to 202. So that being said, the market's looking more in favor of bulls, but just know that as far as Tesla goes, I'm still a little bit concerned about this little gap down here. But nonetheless, as long as we're above this upper trend line, if we do get a small little dip by a couple of points, we could still bounce, and Tesla could be on its way to push for 450 plus to fill that gap above. As long as our trend line holds, as long as that 428 area holds and 425, that zone, I think Tesla will continue to push higher. Might be a little dip here before it tries to push higher, so watch for that, and overall it remains bullish. That being said, I thank you all so much for listening. Have a good day, guys. I'll be back in a couple of hours for another update. Until then, have a good day and peace out.